what would be the outcome if I am holding my presence? What would be the difference in my life? What would be the outcome? Tell me. In the intensity of life, in the enjoyment of life, in the experience of life, what would be the resultant of holding presence? Every experience will be double. Every experience will be double. I'm looking at you. There's an experience of looking at you. That experience is going in a certain process. But at the same time, I'm taking an experience of I am. So I'm living life double. Can you see? Each moment in life, I'm taking in two experiences. I'm looking at you. There's a feeling of you, and at the same time there's a feeling of I am. The feeling of you which goes in is amplified by that feeling of I am, as if it's given an extra push, an extra shock. The quality of life changes by holding presence. Everything you're doing is double. It is life as if in a small life where you get so many experiences, you're enjoying something much, much more. You're taking more from life. Right? So we'll do this exercise for holding presence, then we'll start the session. Please breathe with the music. Feel the breath. The breath merges with the blood. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Feel the breath. The breath merges with the blood, taking this rhythm to every cell of the body. Feel the rhythm in every cell of the body. Feel each cell vibrating with this rhythm. Where there is rhythm, there is no tension, there is no conflict, there is no disease. So if you can hold the rhythm, you will be free of conflict, tension and disease. Now we'll relax the body. We'll use our attention to relax the body. Take your attention to the top of the head. Relax the top of the head. Relax the back of the head, the forehead, the eyes and around the eyes. There's a lot of tension around the eyes. Relax the area around the eyes. The two ears, the nose, two nostrils, the cheeks. There's a lot of tension in the cheeks. Relax the two cheeks. The two lips. In the mouth, the tongue, the teeth, the gums. Just sense them and relax them. The chin. Loosen the jawbone. Relax the neck, the two shoulders. There's a lot of tension in the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. The two hands, the chest, the back. Move through the back, relax the back. The stomach, the abdomen, the two legs. Move through your body. Any area which is not relaxed, relax it. If you see tension anywhere, relax it. Feel the body as an empty vessel. Nothing inside. Totally relaxed. Just the breath, just the feeling of the breath moving in and out with rhythm. otherwise totally empty. In this empty space of the body, invoke your presence. Allow your presence to descend and fill the body. Come in and occupy your body. As you occupy a hotel room, occupy your body. Feel yourself separate from the body. You are in the body and still separate. Hold this feeling of presence. One touch of presence can dissolve thousands of years of pain, thousands of years of unhappiness. Hold the presence. The presence is God. Hold two separate sensitivities, the sensitivity of the body, the sensitivity of presence. Feel the breath, feel the presence. The breath is in the present moment. Presence is a part of eternity. It is our being which stretches across from the present moment to eternity. Hold the presence. Slowly we switch off the music. We are together for the next 2.5 hours. Try to hold your presence as you listen, as we exchange views. Do everything holding your presence. Okay, today we are going to talk about mind. Before that, I want to write 2 things on the board. What is the difference? What is the difference? Mechanical effort, conscious effort. In conscious effort, there is a presence. What does it mean? How do we hold presence? What goes into the holding of presence? Now, what do we work with? To hold presence, what do we work with? Attention. The only currency we have on the spiritual path is attention. It's the only currency we have. What is the quality of my attention? Right? Okay. Now to hold presence, what do we have to do with attention? What do we do with attention? We have to divide it. We have to divide attention. Right? 2 arrows of attention. 1 arrow on the world outside, 1 arrow on what reaction is going on within me at the same time. At the same time. This is the beginning of double-arrowed attention. At one point, that one inner arrow of attention will always be on presence. But we start with, what reaction am I going through every moment? So now, today's talk is about mind, and it is how to ask from the universal mind. Now, when we ask for something, it has to be asked for in the right way. And the right way is in double-arrowed attention. Right? Okay. So I'll just go through very fast. I took it last year, but I'm going to repeat it. What are the 4 states of human consciousness? What are the 4 states of human? What is the lowest state? Which is the lowest state? Sushupti or sleep? Sleep? No, Sushupti is the lowest. Sushupti. This is the lowest state. This is the state of darkness. This is the state of inertia, the state of inactivity, what Patanjali calls that the 5 vrittis are not apparently working. Now, all dreams we have in the night are a part of Sushupti. Because the next state is called Swapna. Please do not, confuse that with the state of, what Swapna we are talking about. When we talk about dreams at night, everything is in Sushupti. Sushupti. Right? The next state is the dream state, Swapna. Swapna. What does it mean? Swapna. What is the characteristic of this state? What is the characteristic of this state? Drifting. I am never in the present moment. That is the first characteristic. I am never in the present. That is the first characteristic. Second characteristic of this state. I may be in the present, but I am identified with what is happening. Either I am identified with the event in front of me, or I am identified with the reaction of that event which is happening in my psyche at the same time. This is the state of identification, Swapna. Right? This is the state of identification. Each moment in life, I am either identified with my thought, either I am identified with my emotion, either I am identified with my reaction. What are the characteristics of identification? What is the basic characteristic of identification? The basic characteristics, 2 basic characteristics of identification. Reaction? Reaction, okay, but the 2 basic characteristics that I am in a state of identification. The first is complaining. Complaining. Whenever I complain about, and please underline this word, anything, whether I am right or whether I am wrong, whether it's anything, whenever I complain about anything, I am in a state of identification. I do not know the truth of life. I have no desire to know the truth of life. The first characteristic that I am working towards awakening is that complaining, scratch it out. The first time I met Mr. Tavaria, he said in a disciple's dictionary, the word complaining has to be scratched out, because the minute I complain about anything, I am not a disciple. I am not a student. Both cannot go together. Both cannot go together. Right? So the first thing is complaining. This is the characteristic that I am working against, this hypnotic identification of life. So we have to see, do I still complain in my life? Have I complained since morning about anything? Did I wake up with an attitude in a state of complaining? Right? Then I'm on the wrong path somewhere. We come to the wrong place. struggle against complaining. What is the next one? What is the next one?
Self-love?
No. Self-love? No. Say simple. As long as it is somebody else's fault, I can never walk on this path. These two things have to completely, when I say completely, 101%. Otherwise, I'm not a candidate for spirituality. This is the basic ticket to sit in the bus. It is never anyone else's fault. Whatever situation I am in life. These are the two basic characteristics of identification. The two basic characteristics of identification. Right? And our whole struggle is to be free of the hypnosis of life. As long as we are stuck in the hypnosis of life, this will go on. Now, this will take two forms. I may not complain outside, but the inner monkey is complaining all the time. So you have to be authentic about it. Right? I may not be saying he is at fault outside, but the inner monkey is finding fault with everything. Right? So there are two states of it. The expressed state and the unexpressed state. So this is the basic thing. Right? We move ahead from here. The next state I think these markers are not for this board. The next state is the state of Jagruti, awakened consciousness. Hold this. Yeah. Awakened consciousness. I think you'll have to make it a little wet or get a wet cloth. Right? Jagruti. This state starts with divided attention. This state starts with the basic. This state consists of 7 levels. There are 7 different levels of awakened consciousness. Right? But it starts with divided attention. I'm talking to you. You're listening to me. Are you trying to hold a feeling of I at the same time? Are you trying to see what the monkey is saying within you as I'm talking each moment? Then you're making an effort to stay in this state of Jagruti. No animal, no plant can move in this state. This is the state of self-consciousness. Every moment we are conscious of self, whatever we do in life. Right? Okay. Now, the higher state is the state of Turiya, objective consciousness. Or I will say truth. Truth. Turiya. Turiya. Right? Objective consciousness. If I am in the state of double-arrowed attention, if I am in the state of Jagruti, this state will come to meet me. It will come in the form of truth. I'll suddenly realize certain laws of life, certain mysteries of life will start opening up before me because I'm holding this state. As this state goes deeper, the quality of truth will change. I'll realize more and more deeper laws of life. In the evening, if we have time, I want to take a session of the movement from lower thinking to higher thinking. Right? How do we move from lower thinking to higher thinking? Right? And one of the characteristics that a person is holding divided attention, is holding presence, his thinking changes. His thinking changes. One of the qualities is that there will be no longer any opposites in his thinking. Everything we do in life is either for this, either for that. This is the lowest form of thinking. I am for you, I am against him. I like this and I do not like this. When people come to meet me with their spiritual experiences, I'm never interested in anyone's spiritual experiences. I observe where their thinking is coming from. Right? Is there a trace of objective consciousness in their thinking? Is there a trace of truth in their thinking? Then thinking changes. We move on to the laws of life. The laws of life. This is the truth. Now, whenever we are going to a temple, whenever we are asking for something, we can only ask from this state. But this state cannot come to meet the dream state. It cannot come to meet the sleep state. It can only meet this state. So, whenever we are asking from the state of objective consciousness, turiya, but that state cannot come to meet the dream state. I may go to a temple, I may be doing puja at my home, I may be doing so many things. Anything done which is not in this state is a waste of time. You may spend your whole day doing mantra yoga. You may spend your whole day doing puja. You may spend your whole day reading the scriptures. If it is done in this state, the present state in which we are, it's a total waste of time. Nothing. Because for the state for which you are doing it cannot come to meet you in this state. There has to be an effort to remain in this state, and then we ask. Because today we are going to learn how the subjective mind asks from the universal mind. Asks from the universal mind. Right? So this was just this thing. Now, in this movement from the dream state to the awakened state, can there be an in-between state of conscious effort? Something with a little wet, so we can rub this out. Yeah, coming? Okay. Huh? No, it's okay. Can there be an in-between state? What will that in-between state, which we can all practice now in our daily lives, till we reach the state of divided attention? See, the scriptures, the Gita starts with divided attention. Arjun tells Krishna, please take my chariot in between the two armies. In between the two armies. Sena yoho, ubhayoho, madhye, ratham, sthapya achyuta. Hey Achyut, please take my chariot in between the two armies. Achyut, the one who from the state of objective consciousness does not slip back into the state of swapna. That is why he is called Achyut. The one who does not slip, does not fall down. Right? So, he's saying, please take my chariot in between the two armies. Chariot is the body, brain, system and the mind. Is our mind in between the two armies? Or is it identified with one army? He did say, please take my chariot between the two armies, and then he got identified with what was happening outside. Right? Okay. So, can there be an in-between state? Tell me. And what will this in-between state be? An in-between state. In-between state. what will that in-between state be? We are now working towards the state of awakened consciousness. And what will that in-between state be?
Being in the present moment.
But what practice will we do in our daily life from morning to evening? What practice will we do?
We can look what happened in the immediate past. We cannot hold the presence at that time. But during the event, in the night, we can see what events passed by and how I reacted.
Very good.
Maybe you are, at least you can reflect on what has happened and think
Right,
to
and
the objective next day.
Where we were identified in the day, put consciousness. Right? Very good process. But let us just talk about something else. Okay, I'm going to write 3 things, then try to see. Which will be the in-between state? That's the problem with Indian spirituality. Everybody is indifferent. The biggest problem. For years I traveled all over this country. So many ashrams, and I meet all these gurus and they say, अभी मुझे कुछ होता नहीं है. नहीं मुझे सेक्स का विचार आता है, नहीं पैसा की इच्छा है, नहीं कुछ भी. Which state is that? Indifferent. He's become a piece of stone. Nothing is happening to him. Nothing is happening to him. And I love it when people come and tell me, अरे अभी मुझे कोई इच्छा नहीं होती. Dead people. Dead people. This ashrams of this country are filled with dead gurus and dead disciples. All indifferent. Indifferent. The lowest state we can be in is indifferent. Indifferent. Now there are 2 states. I mind and I do not mind. I mind and I do not mind. And to do not mind requires the beginning of conscious effort. Requires the beginning of conscious effort. Somebody insults me, I mind. Now can I make an inner effort to move from I mind to I do not mind? I am not indifferent. Somebody insults me, I am hurt. Can you understand what I am trying? I am not indifferent. I am not a piece of wood or stone that nothing happens to me. Right? I am hurt, but I make a conscious effort to move from I mind to I do not mind. My son falls ill. I'll do, अरे मुझे कुछ होता है नहीं. Right? अपना बच्चा जैसा कुछ है ही नहीं, सब ऊपर से आता है. Right? It's the height of stupidity. I mind. I mind. I feel inside. But can I make an effort to move from I mind to I do not mind? Can you understand? Somebody is being very unpleasant with me, throwing all kinds of unpleasantries on me. Definitely we mind. But can we bring in consciousness? Can we pause inside? And can we move from I mind to I do not mind? This is an inner movement. An inner movement. Right? And before we can reach a state of awakened consciousness, can we start practicing this inner movement? What do I mind? And can I move to do not mind? We mind so many things in life. Right? And it is just an inner change. I'm not saying change your outer life. But you have to bring in consciousness, and there is a conscious effort involved. Conscious effort. When somebody may be very negative, and some people have this, what do you call, up to here I mind, and then I do, after up to here I do not mind, then I mind. Then I mind. Right. Some people say to me, I forgive him, but I don't forgive her. Is it possible? Forgiveness is an inner state. If one is forgiven, all are forgiven. You can't say, I forgive him, but I don't forgive her. It's not possible. Right? Him I'll never forgive. Right? So, that is not possible. It is like a lamp. Forgiveness is like a lamp. Once the lamp of love is lit, whoever comes in front, the light falls upon. You can't say, okay, I shield the light from this person. It's not possible. Right? So, where is your line drawn? What do you mind and what you do not mind? And please understand that this is related with like and dislike. All the, violence in the world is attributed to one word, dislike. If there was no dislike in the world, no violence in the world. Right? So, this movement, I mind it. Now can I move from I mind it to I do not mind it? In that, you're alive. You feel. You're full of juice. But in indifference, you're already a dead person. You're a living ghost. Indifference. So, before we come to the state of awakened consciousness, please practice this. And please do practice this very much in respect to negative emotions. Negative emotions. There is no place for negative emotions. The minute we start becoming negative about anything, move from I mind it to I do not mind it. Do not mind it. Right? In that, you'll enjoy the aliveness of life and slowly you will have the separateness of presence. So this is a small exercise. Till we can reach that state of awakened consciousness, we can do this small exercise. Now we'll take Tawariya Sahib's notes.
Just ask you one small
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I mind and I do not mind. Suppose if I mind something at a particular time, I tell myself that I don't have to mind.
Yeah. I say I am not going with this. You insult me. And I feel rage coming in, I feel anger coming in, I feel irritation coming in, and I can see that it is hypnotizing me. I'll say, I do not want to go with this. It has come. I'll just clarify a little deeper. On this. This sounds better in Gujarati. Vichar ayu ne vichar karyo. For having a thought and thinking a thought. Having a thought and thinking a thought. Can we draw the line there? I see him, right? I say 5 years ago he took my money. So the thought comes. Can I now say I do not mind and not think the thought? See, all this which I'm talking to you is much deeper than any meditation techniques which you all are doing. This is life. Right? It is every moment in life. It is not sitting cross-legged and contemplating about something. Right? Again, you will be in the state of swapna only. I see someone. He or she has insulted me. The thought comes. Can I pause there and tell my monkey now, I don't want to think this thought. Vichar aivo, pan vichar karyo? Nahi. The thought came, but I did not allow myself to think the thought. Once I think the thought, I'm hypnotized. I'm in identification. Having thoughts is no problem. Because the whole mind is full of memory patterns, sanskar. And those thoughts happen automatically. There's a whole process which goes into the making of thought. Right? So, those thoughts come automatically. And some thoughts can be really deep. Some thoughts, you're in love with somebody, but she did something or he did something which doesn't work with you. And suddenly you see her she did this at that time. Right? Having a thought. Not thinking the thought.
Disturbs the whole night. Once the thought came, then you are into the thinking.
That is where you bring in consciousness between having the thought and thinking the thought. You stand there in between. Having the thought is somebody is passing by your house, and thinking the thought, you brought him in and gave him a cup of tea. Then you're stuck. Then you're
So having
stuck.
the thought is little normal. That's what.
Having the thought, be relaxed. Don't try to sit in a position, I want thoughtlessness or something. It's the most stupid thing to do. Right? Don't do that. Practice this in your daily life. Right? So, having thought is normal. Then we'll go to a state where we can work on the incoming impression, the incoming impulse. But that is far away, very far away. Then we'll stand between having a thought and the impulse coming in. Right? But that is very far away. At least this start. So, I don't mind having a thought. The thought, but I will work on minding thinking. Because once I mind it, I'll start thinking. Right? So, we are talking today about mind, so I thought I'll just explain a few of these concepts.
When you do this practice a lot, and when you, let's say, if you are in the I do not mind state for a long time, doesn't it then automatically come to the indifferent state?
No.
Because like the reason you are even having a thought is because there is an ego or there is something within you that gets insulted. Right? That is why, as a reaction, you are having a thought, and you can decide not to think it but just have it. But when you are continuously doing the practice, when you even dissolve the ego, right, then you wouldn't even have the.
We keep the ego and all on the side. Just we'll talk about this, having the thought and thinking the thought. Right? Otherwise it will become complicated. Right? There's nothing really like ego. When they first discovered subatomic particles, they couldn't see the subatomic particles. So what do? They would send them through an accelerator into something called a cloud chamber. In the cloud chamber, the particle made a pattern. It made a design. By studying that design, they studied the particle which they could not see. The ego is something similar. The ego expresses in many ways. You can never see the ego. It is by studying the patterns of its expression that you understand your ego. It's a long study of self-observation. Right? So when we use the word ego, it's a very loose term. Very loose term. Right? So we'll just talk about this much. In indifferent, am I passive or not? But to hold a state of non-minding, do I have to be actively passive or not? Right? Because the minute I loosen the reins a little, I'll go into either I mind it or indifference. So to hold that state, there has to be a continuous effort inside. There is a continuous effort inside. Right? So I have to use that, right? Otherwise I'll slip. Maybe once I reach the state of what Krishna is, where spontaneously I don't slip, it's a different thing. Right? But at least on our level, we'll have to make an effort. Continuous effort. We'll start his notes. These notes were written by Mr. Tavaria many, many years ago. And the more I read them, the more they open up. They're a beautiful piece of writing, what he has done. He never took these notes with us. When we were attending his class, he never took these notes with us. He did, of course, in different talks, explain what the universal mind was, what the subjective mind was. So the universal mind and subjective mind. Perhaps you think it is just good luck that brings success, and let it go at that. What is luck? What is luck? What is luck? And does luck change with everybody's understanding? Does luck change? when we use the word luck, what do we already agree to? We are not in control, and something is happening in some other realm, right? Which controls events. And those factors can be either favorable or unfavorable to us. To many people, luck is something supernatural. Luck is something supernatural. Something that determines and shapes events, gives good luck to somebody and bad luck to somebody else. And in so many religions of the world, there was the goddess of luck or the god of luck, etc. Kuber and Fortuna and etc. etc. In China, we have what do we have? In China, what do we have? The laughing Buddha. The laughing Buddha. Laughing Buddha, his name was Hote. And he has a huge stomach. So they say when you go out in the morning, you rub his stomach clockwise. So it brings you good luck in the day. It brings you good luck in the day. So whenever you go out, you have this statue of the laughing Buddha and you rub the stomach clockwise. So many of the negative events of the day are kept away. That's what they say. Right? He was the laughing Buddha. And Hote used to move from village to village with a huge bag of toys. And in every village he would play with the children, give the toys. And one day he was traveling with his bag on his back. And another student of Zen met him on the road, and he looked at Hote and he said, "What is the realization of Zen?" And the bag was on his back and he just dropped it and the sack fell down. All the content of the mind, just throw it out. Right? And then the student asked, "What is the actualization of Zen?" He again picked up the sack and started moving away. Right? So, you understand truth, but then when truth expresses itself, it will express itself through your own conditioning. And then you live them as a game in life. Right? Okay. Now, the word luck, originally in the English language, is about a 400-500-year-old word. And it was originally used for people who had a special, intelligence in gambling. They were very intelligent in gambling. So they said, such a person is lucky. Then it became more supernatural and deterministic. Right? Okay. So we'll start with the notes again. Perhaps you think that it is just good luck that brings success. And he's making a statement over here that there is nothing like luck in our lives. There's nothing like luck in our lives. And let it go at that. But you miss something very important if you think that. What do we miss? What do we miss?
That we can actually influence the events.
Yeah, but what do we miss? In that actually, what do we miss?
The opportunity of being present.
No. What do we miss? That there is nothing like luck. Everything happens according to law. Everything happens according to law. Right? You have a game of cards. Once the rules are made, you cannot break the rules. Right? The rule says that even the 2 of trumps can knock off the ace of spades. Right? That is the rule of cards. Even God comes down, he cannot change that rule. This is the rule. Similarly, in life, whatever happens, happens according to law. Right? So don't go to a temple and tell him to change the law. Tell him to give you a better understanding of the law. Right? He can't change the law for anyone. Right? But there is an understanding of the law, and there is a way of working with the law. This is written for those willing to consider the possibility that something other than luck or heredity bestows happiness on one and failure on the other. It is not luck. It is not that my father left me so much of money. Right? If my father left me so much of money, many times instead of bringing happiness, it could bring something else. Right? So, he's saying it is not heredity. What is our true heredity? What is our true heredity?
Sanskar which we bring.
Pardon?
Sanskar which we bring.
Yeah, the sanskars, okay, but what are they made of? Who are our real father and mother? Who are our real? I think last time we took that story from the Bible, the prodigal son. Did we take that story? Huh? He goes back to his father, but of course in the Bible it is shown the, the physical father. It has nothing to do with physical father. The Bible is talking about something else. Right? So, who are our real father? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Who is our real father? What is our essence made of? What is our essence made of? Planetary material. It is made of starry material. Starry material. Something made of starry material. Right? Something made of planetary magnetism. We call it as soul. We call it as soul. Right? We call it as Jeev. And that soul seeks expression. That soul seeks expression. For the soul to seek expression, it needs 2 sets of DNA. It needs 2 sets of DNA. So, like we take a loan from the bank, it takes one set, loan from one set where we call the father and another set from whom we call they are not the father and mother. They have just allowed something which was unexpressed to be expressed. Right? They have loaned something. They have loaned something. Some of the beautiful dialogues in the Shastra are those between Shakuntala and Dushyant. When Dushyant refuses to recognize Shakuntala. And Shakuntala has her son with him. And the name of the son is Bharat. This country is named after Shakuntala's son. Right? And in one of the arguments which she puts forward to Dushyant is that we use the word putra and pita. What does it mean? What does it mean? And she says that the planetary form of the father is repeated in the son. The planetary form. That is the real father. That is the real father. What will this mean? This giving of DNA, what will it mean? What will it mean? This is the soul. The soul comes through the mother and father. Will the DNA, everything that is lying in the soul, will the DNA allow it to be expressed, or will the DNA act like a screen and something will be allowed and something will not be allowed? Tell me. It will act as a screen. So what is lying in the soul, maybe only 10% of that or 20% of that does the mother and father allow to pass through. When the person goes into yoga, spirituality, he starts recognizing his soul. He has to bypass the mother and father. He has to bypass DNA. It is only consciousness which can bypass DNA. Right? He has to be free of mother and father. Some of Jesus' statements are very, very controversial. Unless you have killed your mother and unless you have killed your father, don't come to me. Even the Christians don't know what to make out of this. You have to bypass the mother. Because they are not the real mother and father. They are heredity. So he is saying, he is using the word heredity over here. Bestows happiness on one and failure on another. If you seek help and are not afflicted by a closed mind, we shall start with a few ideas. For nothing is law that is not reason. Right? So, the law can be understood with a reasonable mind. Right? And we approach the law through our reasonable mind. Right? Color, weight, density, firmness are properties of objects, and we find that these objects are made of the same substances in varying physical and chemical combinations. So we say we live in two worlds. Two worlds. The physical world, which is visible or tangible to the five senses. Here we have color, weight, density, firmness, etc. And this is because of a ratio of physical and chemical properties. We don't want to go into all this. Right? But I'll just touch on something, that this ratio of physical and chemical properties is also according to law. Also according to law. One day I'll talk on the law of 3 and the law of 7, and we'll see that in every, expression of life is an expression of the law of 7. The law of 3, every manifestation, law of 3, every movement of that manifestation, law of 7. We'll see this, we'll understand this. Now, as we look more intently, we observe that there are other conditions in our world that are invisible. We think, but we do not see our thoughts. But if this one sentence is enough, then we don't have to read the rest. Can we see our thoughts? If we saw our thoughts, what would we see? What would we see? The forces which go into the making of a thought. The forces which go into the making of a thought. Right? So if we could see our thoughts, but we are always thinking our thoughts. Always thinking our thoughts. We do not see the forces or energies themselves. Can we work on this a little? Can we work on this a little? How will we work upon this? How will we work upon this? No, not drift watching. How will we work upon this? Can we go back? Can we go back? Supposing I'm watching TV, right? Some serial I'm watching, and suddenly I say I want to have wafers, right? I want a packet of wafers. Now here I'm watching TV, something triggered in my instinctive center, the taste came on my tongue, and I said I want to have wafers. Can I pause over here? This happens to everybody, right? Happens to everybody. Very simple, very simple. Can we pause over here? Can we pause? If we pause, what will happen? What can we do? What can we do?
We know what triggered this
Yeah. So can we take our sensitivity back? At this moment, that desire for wafers, that thought that I want to have some wafers, the minute it came, what state was I in? Can I go back? It's just gone. I've just crossed that bridge. Right? And I've become aware. I say, okay, the wafers, I'll forget it, but where did this thought come from? And can I go back? And if I go back, maybe at some point as I practice this, suddenly I'll sense the forces which went into the making of the thought. This is a big discovery. Very, very big discovery. Right? Such a simple thing, no? But it will take a long time to do. Simple thing. So try to see in life we are traveling on one path and suddenly we jump to something else. Right? And at that moment, go back into that moment. Try to sense what happened in the mind. Try to see how you took this turn, what happened, and a point will come that you will be standing before the thought was made. And now you will be able to understand those forces, you will sense those forces which went into the making of the thought. It's a beautiful exercise. Please understand that whatever I'm talking with you is everything which I've practiced. It's not written in any books. You're not going to find it in any books. You're not going to find it in anyone else's lectures. Right? It's something which I've practiced, and through life I've come to where I am today. We think, but we do not see our thoughts. Swami Brahmvedanji has a beautiful sutra, Jo vicharo nahi. The Atma only knows how to do one thing, see. The Spirit knows only how to do one thing, see. As long as I'm seeing, I'm in that state. As long as I'm thinking, I've fallen to the ground. We think we do not see our thoughts. A great drama of forces constantly unfolds before us. If we can go behind our thoughts, we can see the forces which go into the play of the universe. The play of the universe. Right? What we see are the results. The thought is the result. And what happens by getting the bag of wafers and eating the wafers is the phenomenon, which has come out of that thought. Right? Or actions and states of being. What we see are the results. Our eyes have not opened up to the forces which go into the making of the results. So we live not only in a visible world of matter, but also in an invisible world of forces and energies that produce the visible things in our environment. So we see the visible world, that this event happened. We do not see the forces which went into the making of that event. Which story in the Mahabharata reflects this? Which story in the Mahabharata reflects this? We see the result, we do not see what goes into the result. I won't go deep into the story, otherwise it will take too much time. But Ganga drowns 7 of her sons. Drowns 7 of her sons. The 8th son is Bhishma. The 8th son is Bhishma. Right? Bhishma, we say, is the ego. The ego, the primary ego. Right? Bhi means to frighten. Bhi means to frighten. Right? So, When a child is born, all the experiences of life go to the soul. It is the soul which wants to experience life. After about 4 or 5 years, what is built in the child? Ego. Right? And then till death, the ego takes all the experiences, nothing goes to the soul. Poor soul came into life. It wanted to experience life. The ego came in between. And the ego, Bhi, frightens the soul into going to sleep. That is why he's called Bhishma. He frightens the soul into going asleep. And then all the experiences of life go to the ego. The poor soul came into life to have experiences. We die, and the soul says, I didn't get anything, let me take one more round. Let's take another round. Right? Why does it want to experience? To be free. To be free. What is freedom? What is the soul made up of? What is the soul made up of? Planetary matter. That planetary matter is arranged in a certain pattern or many patterns. Many patterns. Every experience of life is what? Every experience of life is what? Planetary matter. Every experience of life is planetary matter. Right? I get angry on you, it is the matter of which planet? Mars. The anger is made of the magnetism or the substance of Mars. That is why I get angry on you.
Emotions are made of planetary.
My whole psyche is made of planetary matter. Every experience of life is planetary matter. The soul wants to be free of the patterns. So you insult me. Why do you insult me?
It's again an expression.
Because you have anger within you.
Why do you insult me?
Because I have that matter.
Because I have that matter. Nobody insults anyone in life. My soul invited you to insult me. Right? The minute you insult me, that planetary matter called Mars, it comes from the unconscious as anger into the conscious. The soul says, now bring in consciousness, be free of that matter. Right? So the soul experiences what? Freedom. But who has come in between? Ego. Right? And the ego says that who are you to insult me? It doesn't realize the truth that you cannot insult me without my inviting you to insult me. Because the ego can't see anything, it's blind. It can never see the truth.
So basically,
So,
of the soul to be free of the planetary matter.
planetary matter. Planetary matter. Right? I'm going to come to that. What is our divine structure? We'll have to go into what is the difference between soul and spirit. What is the difference between soul and spirit? I'll have to explain those terms. Take me some time. But I think we are going to sit longer than we bargained for. So we only see the results, phenomena. We call these results and phenomena as events. We call them as events. Right? And we don't see the causes behind events. We don't see the causes behind events. We live only in a visible world of matter. We live not only in a visible world of matter, but also in an invisible world of forces and energies that produce the visible things in our environment. We recognize these visible forms and we sense the invisible forces behind them through a power we call the mind. right? So I see you as a visible form, but through the mind I sense that there has to be something higher for you to appear on this plane of existence, right? Two types of thinking: sensual thinking, psychological thinking. Sensual thinking is only related to the five senses, but through psychological thinking I sense the higher, right? In sensual thinking there is no God, but in psychological thinking I say definitely there has to be some higher power, right? So when we move on the path of spirituality, we drop our sensual thinking and move into psychological thinking. No human being has ever seen mind. Everything we do, individually or collectively, begins first in the thought of the thing. First in the thought of the thing. Last year we took how thoughts are made. I think I took the whole science of how thoughts are made. I don't know if you remember. Right? A bridge or a railroad can be created by the mind of man. But man cannot create a tree or an ocean or a river. Yet they too must have begun in mind. Right? So now he's saying, if I have created a bridge, then it is my individual mind. But if something has created a tree or a river or a mountain or a lake or something, it is some higher mind. He calls this as universal mind. Universal mind. So we have two different pictures. One springs from the efforts of man on the visible plane. The other is directed from some invisible plane and is not due to man's efforts. What he's saying is, if man creates a bridge and there is a law in creating a bridge, similarly, if that mind has created a tree or an ocean, the law has to be the same. And can you make use of that law? Can we make use of that? No sensible man believes that man just happened. He too is a phenomenon, a fact with an invisible cause. So he's saying the same mind which made the mountain or the tree made man. So even though man made the bridge or railroad or whatever, the mind which made man, in the end is responsible. Try to understand this in a little broader sense. See, some years ago when we were studying the Gita, so it says, and then Arjun saw his fathers and grandfathers and uncles and aunts and this and that in the army. Therefore, and took a long time. I was wondering, what do they mean? What do they mean? Definitely they are not talking about uncles and aunts and grandfathers, and right? And what has Vyas written in this slok? Right? So son is the effect. Right? Father is the cause, and grandfather is the cause of cause. Right? So once our thinking changes, suddenly the whole slok opens up, what Arjun is seeing in front of him. He's not seeing the visible things, he's seeing the forces behind the visible things. Right? Similarly, he's saying the mind of man made a bridge or a railroad, effect. Mind of man, cause. But that which made man, cause of cause. Cause of cause. Right? In what mind and with what thought did they begin? Where do we use this rule in a different way? We use it every day. Where do we use this rule in a different way? The same thing, what he's talking about. I think we talked about it not last year, but the year before that, or the session before that. Where do we use it? In which yoga? In which yoga? Which yoga? What is the basis of mantra yoga? What is the basis of mantra yoga? Yeah, but What is the basis of mantra yoga?
You say something with certain intensity.
Okay, let's take it from the opposite side. How did the Sanskrit language first come into being? I think I took this. Huh? How did the Sanskrit language first come into being? Huh? The rishis heard the sounds with a different ear. They heard the sounds with a different ear. So supposing they saw a cow, the cow may look stationary to us, but the cow is not stationary. In the rishis' eyes, the cow is moving in some space called Akash. Right? Is moving in some space called Akash. And the rishis saw that when it is moving in this space called Akash, there is a friction between Akash and that cow. There is a friction between Akash and that cow. And that friction was giving out a sound which is not audible to the normal ear. You need a different ear to hear it, a yogic ear to hear it. And they heard the sound, go, and they said, go is cow. And this was the first language. The rishis heard the sound of the movement of each thing, right? And they said, this thing is named this. This was a natural language. Initially, Sanskrit was a natural language. It was called Shruti, that which was heard. Then, of course, Panini came and he made a grammar, but that was many, many, many years later. Initially, it was a pure natural. Now, what is that sound go? What does it mean? In that higher mind must have made a picture of this cow, right? And from the invisible, from the unexpressed, it must have expressed that cow onto the visible plane of existence. And it must have done it through mantra, the mantra go. So it said go and the cow came into existence. Right? So when we are practicing mantra yoga, we are duplicating what the Creator did in making existence. We are duplicating that. We are turning on the same power. That is why mantra yoga is so powerful. We are imbibing the same power which he had in making existence, right? Similarly, he is going to talk of the same law over here. But man did not cause himself. Something else brought him into being. Some higher force brought him into being. Some higher mind brought him into being. Therefore, this something else causes not only mountains and oceans, which are beyond man's control, but also causes everything that man appears to cause, because it caused man himself to come into existence. It is the cause of cause. Thus we see there is but one basic cause of all things. We therefore call it the first cause. Some call it God. Whatever term we use, it or that operates through mind. Man operates through his individual mind. That operates through universal mind. It causes all the things we call it or that. Everything that we see on the physical plane is manifest through mind. All power comes through one source. Today, just as it did in the beginning of before the beginning of things, this great invisible cause works through universal mind. If we should find that each of us can use that fact or force consciously to our own advantage, can we use the power of universal mind for our own advantage? Would not that be a great discovery? It would be a very great discovery. Individually, we are tied to that one infinite source, and we individually vary a lot in the amount of power we develop from the same voltage. Okay, and I'm going to just draw a small diagram. Electricity has two measurements. Which are they? Voltage and current. Voltage and current. So if the flow is more, what is it? Current. Amperage is more. And if the power is more, it is voltage. Voltage. Now supposing this is the body-brain system, right? We say the lower chakra is called Mooladhara, this is called Swadhisthana. I don't want to go into the chakras today, right? Now, when a child is born, two electrical fields are created. Two electrical fields are created. The first is the electrical field of the divine fragment, right? So the child grows in the mother's womb, and before the first breath goes in, the first breath goes in because the spirit enters the child, and the spirit creates a spark between these two chakras, Mooladhara and Swadhisthana. And this is the spark of electricity of life, and it flows up the backbone, which we call Sushumna. It flows up the backbone, we call Sushumna, and we don't know the source of this current. We don't know the source of this current. But as long as this current flows, we are alive. As long as this current flows, we are alive, right? So the first spark is created between Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, right? And this is the current flows up the Sushumna, right? And this is a continuous flow of current. It is perpetual motion. Where this perpetual motion is coming from, we do not know. Now, when a current flows through a wire, right? Around the wire in a clockwise direction, it creates what is called an electromagnetic field. It creates an electromagnetic field. So this initial spark, it creates a field, and this is our original field. It is the field of the divine fragment. If we go into the writings of E.J. Gould, he calls it the electrical field of the non-phenomenal self. The electrical field of the non-phenomenal self, right? This is our divine field. Now, which other electrical field starts? Come on, very easy. Which other electrical field starts? From breathing. Breathing. What happens in breathing? So first is the spark of life between Mooladhara and Swadhisthana, and then comes in breath. Right? Now with breath, what happens? With breath, what happens? What happens?
The mind starts functioning.
Everything starts functioning with breath. So now we have another electrical field of the body-brain system. One electrical field we have of the divine. Now this electrical field of the divine is very, very subtle. Hardly any amperage. It is not powerful at all, right? It's a very, subtle field. Now, when we breathe in, what happens? What happens? In this process of breathing, what happens? Prana goes in. How does prana go in? Prana goes in. When I take in the breath from here, the breath goes in the lungs, but the prana which is in the breath, it does not go in the lungs. It does not go in the lungs. It goes in a nadi over here. This nadi we call as Pingla. This nadi we call as Ida. So from here I breathe in. At this point the breath goes in the lungs and the prana goes in the nadi. They separate. They both separate. Right? They separate and it goes in this nadi. It is, prana is nothing but an electrical current. And these nadis, they wrap around the backbone, causing an electrical field clockwise in the direction of the current. Because they are crisscrossing, where are they crisscrossing? At every point where there is a minor brain called the chakras, they are crisscrossing, right? The direction of the current changes, the electrical field changes. What does this do? This is the basis of Indian yoga. Not written in any book. You won't find this in any book. No, what happens? Because of this crisscrossing and the field is now moving in one way, the field is like this and suddenly it moves in the opposite direction because they have crisscrossed. What happens to the chakras? They start rotating. Can you see? So, three things are starting at birth. First, there is an electric spark. It creates the divine field. Then there is the movement of prana through these two wires called Ida and Pingla. They create two other electrical fields, right? Because of the crisscrossing of those wires, there is a movement in the brains called the chakras. We'll take the chakras in some later talk, right? And a new electrical field of the body-brain system is created. A new electrical field. So now we have two electrical fields. The electrical field of the phenomenal self, the electrical field of the non-phenomenal self. Now, can one electrical field work on another electrical field? Can one electrical field work upon another electrical field? Yes. Can it transfer power to the other electrical field? So, what is the purpose of the electrical field of the body-brain system? To make powerful the field of the divine. It has to transfer something over there. It is to act upon that field. This is called sadhana. Making that field powerful. What really happens? That field becomes weaker and weaker. And one day, when we die, instead of making it stronger than what we were born with, it is hardly working. It is hardly working. The outer field has taken everything from the inner field. To transfer something from one field to the other, I have to increase amperage or voltage. Voltage. Right? But when I get angry on you, is it more amperage or more voltage? There is a flow. So amperage is more. The electrical field of the body-brain system keeps on losing current all the time. So the first step is to block all the leakages. The first leakage is all negative emotions. The second leakage is the chattering of the monkey. These two. That is why so much of meditation. Can we block this, stop this leakage? Then this field, we make this field ready to work upon the inner field, and then we change the, patterns in the inner field, that the divine is free. This is the inner journey, right? So these two electrical fields, the electrical field of the divine or the Atma inside, which comes in as a spark, and one which starts with our breathing, Ida and Pingla. Two electrical currents. Where does it come from? From three sources of food. Physical food, air food and impression food. Of course, impression food we don't use at all. It comes from normal man, mechanical man, it only comes from physical food. Not even air food also. Right? So there are three sources of food. Anyway, because he's talking about this, I just thought I'll touch upon this. Right? The development and bettering of your life depends on your learning how to draw more power from that great source. So you take from the universal and amplify the divine field inside. Right? Because human machines can draw more power, whereas mechanical contrivances cannot. Okay. The universal mind takes on two different aspects. One aspect includes the direction of the activities pertaining to man's normal material environment exterior to himself. Therefore, we call it the objective mind. Now, what he is saying is this universal mind is flowing into us. It comes into us through three sources. Physical food, which is the lowest source, right? Air food, which we breathe in, and through the five senses, every moment it is coming in as electromagnetic impressions. Right? Is impression a food? It is a food. It is the highest form of food. Right? So it is coming in three. This universal mind is flowing through us like a river, every moment as an impression. Right? And he's saying when it comes into the body-brain system, it divides itself into two parts. The objective mind and the subjective mind. He is going to now tell us that this subjective mind can ask for anything from the universal mind. The objective mind cannot ask. Am I getting clear on this point? Is thought an object or not? Is thought an object or not? Thought is an object. It is not a part of subjective mind. It is objective mind. So by thinking of something, we are not asking. He's now going to give us a technique that whatever you want in your life, you have to train this subjective mind to ask from the universal mind. So, the universal mind takes on two different aspects. One, the outer exterior, what we see in life, everything what is happening. I'm not going into all that. The other portion of the universal mind takes charge of the direction and utilization of forces that operate independently of our conscious or objective phase of mind. Respiration, digestion, and automatic functions of the body. Which card will this be? I think last time we took the cards. Did we take the cards last time?
Yes.
Or the time before that? Which card will this be? King of clubs. King of clubs. King of clubs. Right? So instinctive center, respiration, digestion, etc. Right? Where do we see the king of clubs working? Where do we see the king of clubs working? In normal life. Where do we see the subjective mind which he's talking about? Where do we see the king of clubs working? In situations of danger. In situations of danger. Right? Suddenly we get a lot of strength from somewhere. Suddenly we get a lot of awareness from somewhere. right? And this all happens because now the objective mind is not working, the subjective mind is working. You imagine a person who's gone for a party and has had a lot to drink, right? He can't walk also straight. And he's coming home through some dark roads or something, right? The dark alleys. And it's a bad neighborhood. It's a bad neighborhood, and suddenly he hears footsteps behind him. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and he's come from the party. What will happen? What will happen to all that he has drunk? Will it go within a second or not? Within a second it will all go away. Suddenly the subjective mind comes into control. That he'll suddenly become very aware, and he'll know whose footsteps are coming. And suddenly if that person crosses the road and goes to the other side, again the subjective mind will go away and the objective mind will take control. Can you see this? This happens in our daily life in so many situations. Suddenly you're driving very fast and a truck comes in front. The objective mind will go and the subjective mind will do something to save you. Right? So now he's talking about the power of this subjective mind and how to use that power. This phase of the universal mind within us we term as subjective. In the human body, the objective mind controls the cerebrospinal nervous system. Right? I'm not going into all this. The subjective mind works through the sympathetic nervous system. We'll just change the word sympathetic to autonomic. Autonomic nervous system. These two systems are almost entirely separate, except that the vagus nerve ties them together in one place. What does knowledge of the vagus nerve give us? What does knowledge of the vagus nerve give us? Supposing I'm going for an interview and I'm very frightened. Then can I stimulate my vagus nerve? Then what will happen? My pulse rate will come down, right? My perspiration rate will come down. The body processes will start working little slowly and I'll be calm and collected in my interview. So there are so many techniques for vagus nerve stimulation, right? Okay. One of the techniques is you take 2 fingers and you rub the carotid artery. So when you rub the carotid artery, pulse will go down. Which other way? 3-step rhythmic breathing, alternate breathing. Alternate breathing stimulates the vagus nerve. Which other way? 6th exercise, instead of swallowing, try to take out air. But don't allow the air to go out from any doorway. Just push the air out and hold it inside. Don't allow it to go from any doorway. And that very fast stimulation of the vagus nerve. And this can be helpful in many situations in life. Right? The fibers of one system actually join and fuse into the fibers of the other system in the vagus nerve. Thus the two, subjective and objective, are physically one. So when I'm working through my conscious mind, it is the objective mind. Right? In which training do we try to move from objective mind to subjective mind? Which training? Which training? Very easy. Very. Driving, yes, driving. But driving is more the mechanical part of the moving center, but much faster than driving. Karate. Right? So in karate, first they think. Thinking is objective mind. And then they want to reach a state that before they think that the action happens. So they want to bring it into subjective mind. Right? They say you have to practice each move 50,000 times. to take it.
Isn't it in every sport?
Yeah, in every sport. In every sport. But then when we, what do you call, study the centers, suddenly we realize that sometimes what we call as sport is an abuse of the sex center. You get it? So I'll just explain this, what he's saying, because he raised this question. Now say my intellectual center is working with a petrol called 48, and my emotional center is working with a petrol called 24, right? And say my moving is working with a petrol called 48 and sometimes 24, and say the sex center is working with a petrol called 12. I'm just giving you an example. Give you an example. Now when I'm getting angry on somebody, which energy am I losing? This energy, right? Or you have emotionally hurt me and I'm burning in that, then which energy am I losing? This energy, right? But I'm chattering inside. I'll do this and I'll do that, and when you come I'll do this and I'll do that. Then which energy am I losing? This energy, 48. This 24. Right? Now, the moving center with which we do sport. We do sport. Before that, now I'm getting angry on you. I'm losing this energy which we call 24. But in that anger, there's a sudden jump. As if my anger just now is a small wave, but there's a sudden jump, and from a small wave, my anger becomes like a tidal wave, like I'm uncontrollable in my anger. You get the difference between the two? You get the difference between the two. Suddenly, the emotional center has connected to the sex center, and in that uncontrollable anger, which energy am I wasting? This energy I am wasting. The most powerful energy which normal man makes. Normal mechanical man makes. And we have seen this in everyday life. Somebody is little angry and it's okay, but suddenly he takes a quantum jump and the anger goes to some other stage. You know he has connected here and he is wasting this energy. Similarly, the moving center is working either with 48 or in some cases 24. Right? Now today is a day where every shot I'm hitting, every shot is a sixer. What do they call? I've come in the zone. I've come in the zone. Then the moving center is now using energy of the sex center. Sex center. Right? In a normal sense, this is an abuse of the energy of the sex. All sports. All sports. It's an abuse of the energy of the sex center. This energy is given to us with a certain purpose. With a certain purpose. The right use of that energy is creativity. And the higher use of that energy is transformation and transmutation.
Physical exercise, day-to-day morning exercise.
That is 48 and 24.
But they are not used. Sex energy is not used.
That is sometimes it connects. And you know this person is excelling today. Then it is using this 12. He is now using 12. Right? Everybody's clapping.
How will he
they know how to go into that. They know how to go into that. They've learned the technique of going. The subjective mind, ordinarily the two phases of mind operate independently. The objective mind under certain circumstances can and does control the subjective. Likewise, the subjective controls the objective. Right? So when we are in that phase of anger, the objective has controlled the subjective. Right? There are other kinds of orders which it has few orders to carry out except those which it received at birth, to carry on the vital functions of the organism. So he's saying there's hardly any programming in the subjective mind. There is a little bit of programming. You eat your food, the food must be digested, the breathing must go on, the heart must go on, the circulation must go on, the brain functions must go on. This is all programmed in the subjective mind, right? Where do we see this programming much more than human beings? In animals. In animals. No bird has to teach the children how to make a nest, right? But the child is programmed, the subjective mind is programmed, pre-programmed to make a nest. So in animals we see this pre-programming. There is no such thing as luck. Everything is a result of some cause. You get pleasant or unpleasant results from your actions depending very largely on how fully you realize and act with the infinite power of the universal mind. Infinite power of the universe. We don't realize when we have asked from the universal mind. And we always ask, our subjective mind comes in only when we are negative. Only when we are negative. Nothing happens without asking. Supposing I go to meet somebody sick. What is the first thought which comes in my mind?
I am not sick.
He is sick, it should not come to me. What have I asked from the universal mind? Please make me sick. We don't know the law. Right? So, what he's trying to say, it can carry out orders, right? But you must know the laws. And if in your life you are getting pleasant or unpleasant results in your life, if you are passing through a life which is pleasant or unpleasant, unconsciously you have asked for the same from the universal mind. Depending very largely on how fully you realize or act with the infinite power of the universal mind, of which you are a vehicle of expression. This is the circle of life. Right? What is the question? Yeah. What is the difference between past memories and intuition? Was that the question? Right? This is the circle of life. Right? We move from here and we come here. We call this as birth. We call this as death. What is memory? What is memory? Yeah, but memory is an electrical current which for us is conditioned to go backwards. Memory is an electrical current which for us is conditioned to go backwards. Through consciousness, can we train that current to go? Intuition. Intuition. Right? The wire is the same. If the current goes back, it should also go forward. Why should it only go back? Right? The wire is the same. But somehow, we are conditioned that it always goes back. Which is that very famous book. Very famous book. Alice through the looking glass. Alice through the looking glass. Alice falls down the tunnel and she comes and the white queen is over there and she says, "Oh, it is a poor memory which only goes backwards." The white queen says, it is a poor memory which only goes backwards. Right? To retrain the memory. Now, the problem is that we see life as events. What are real events? What are real events? This is my line of time in life. I'm moving along this line of time. How do I see? Supposing you were to talk about your life, what would you talk about? Say from just now, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 12:15 in the afternoon. What will you say about today? Okay, experiences. Then tell me, which thought did you wake up in the morning? Can one person tell me? What was your state when you woke up in the morning? No one knows. No one knows. But you will know in the morning whether the fan was working or whether it was raining, or you will see outside events. Nobody can see inner events. Inner events. Right? Is it raining that I got depression, or I got depression and it rained? Can you see the whole inside is in darkness? The whole inside. It's only, how long now? 6 hours since we woke up. But nobody can tell me what thoughts, what emotions went on inside. Everybody will say what happened outside, what I had for breakfast, whether I ironed my clothes or not. Right? Nobody can say. Real events are inside. Let us see that. Let us see that. Is this getting clear to you? Right? That is why I have a rule that wake up in the morning, first see where you are, not in the outer country, in the inner country. Inner country. And then say to yourself, for 1 hour I won't allow a single negative thought or negative emotion. And just tell me if the quality of your life changes. Just do this much. Just tell me the quality of life changes or not. Quality of life, quality of the next 3 days changes. Right? Then you will understand this. Okay, I'm moving from here. This point in my life, all these different events are coming to meet me. To whom are they coming to meet? To whom are they coming to meet? Me. What am I? I am a structure. It's an accident. It's coming to meet me. This accident is coming to meet me. Right? I am sitting at this moment over here. He insults me. I get angry. If I get angry and throw it out on him, then my structure, does it change? No. The patterns which form a part of that structure are just reinforced by my getting angry. You understand this? At this moment, he insults me. I observe the anger through the light of observation. Sudarshan Chakra, Sudarshan, right? Through the light of observation, the anger dies. Has my structure changed? Has my structure changed? Can this accident come to meet me? It cannot meet me because it was coming to meet this person, but that person is no longer there. Can you see what it means to introduce consciousness in life? Just a simple thing. In your daily life, if you start introducing consciousness, your memory is now moving in the future. You're not seeing life as the events, you're seeing the events as your own reactions. There'll be a whole dramatic change inside. That this cannot come to meet me because this person is no longer there. He is now moving in a different line of time. The events of life will change. They have to change. But I'm complaining about something over here. Why did this come to meet me? And I did nothing bad for anybody, etc., etc. And I can't get out of this, etc. Then what is written has to meet me. I'm just going to move on that mechanical line and nowhere else. Nothing will change in my life. Makes no difference whether you know somebody's phone call is going to come or not going to come. Makes no difference. Right? So the impulse has to move in the future. The electrical impulse has to, and the impulse can only move in the future by transformation of the now. You get what I'm trying to say? Right? That is why it is so very important to transform negativity. Very important. There's no place for it in our lives. Because the very fact when I become negative, I am saying what has to come to meet me, let it come. I don't want to change anything. I just want to cry. You get pleasant or unpleasant results from your actions depending very largely on how fully you realize and act with the infinite power of the universal mind, of which you are a vehicle of expression. We are just a vehicle of the universal mind. How do we work with the universal mind? What way? What is the basic Vedantic division? The basic Vedantic division. First, in Yoga, in Vedanta, what do they, in Sankhya. Let's start with Sankhya. The oldest is Sankhya. Before there was any philosophy on the earth, the first philosophy was Sankhya. How does Sankhya make the first basic division? Purush and Prakriti. Purush and Prakriti is mind. Purush is God, the observer of mind. This is how Sankhya divides it. What does it, how will it come down to our normal life? How does it come down to our normal life? Mind, we are talking about mind. Mind, the Sankhya said mind is a she or he? She. Mind is a she. Right? This is very important for all men. Very, very important for all men. Because this comes down to the very basic, even though everybody is male and female 50%. But that is one step a little inside. At least at the body level, somebody is male, somebody is female. Can we start from the body level? Can we start from the body level? And this is very important for all men, that whenever I torture a woman, that original division of male and female, universal mind. I am telling the universal mind, send it back 100 times to me. Right? And that is what marriage is about. Marriage is about. The male becomes female, the female becomes male. There's an exchange. There's an exchange. The softness of the female comes in the male. Right? And the aggressiveness, the power of the male comes in the female. And if that doesn't happen, all marriages are failures. Right? There must be a transformation. The male knows that anything I do which will create pain, then it is the universal mind. We are all vehicles of the universal mind. Of course, at a deeper level, there is both male and female. And the deeper art is when a male comes to meet you, you become female. And when a female comes to meet you, you become male. If somebody is getting angry at me and screaming at me, I become female. I just absorb it. Right? And I see somebody is low on energy, needs upliftment, I become male. And I hand over. I create Prakriti. This is the dance of male and female, Purusha and Prakriti, every moment. So you are a vehicle of that universal mind, an expression of that universal mind. Now we begin to catch a glimmer of invisible causes of visible effects. Nature does not develop faculties uselessly. So he is saying that you have the faculty of subjective mind within you. That faculty has the power to call upon the universal mind, and it has the power to ask the universal mind to make something which is invisible, make it visible. It has that power. And because you have this faculty within you, you can use that faculty. Use it. There is absolute unity of all things in the universal mind, regardless of their apparent physical separateness. The cog wheel has its hub. Every wheel has the middle hub. All the spokes have their common origin in the hub. But as each spoke goes out towards the rim, it becomes seemingly separate. This universal mind, in the Shastras, they call it as Chitti. Chitti. Universal mind. And they say Chitti divides itself into two parts. Especially in the Upanishads, they use two words, Prana and Rai. Rai, R-A-Y-I, Rai. So, this is a form, then it is Rai. But there's an energy which goes into the powering of this form is Prana. Similarly, he has divided here subjective mind, objective mind. Can you get what I'm trying to say? I have a body-brain system, it is a form. It is the same universal mind, but it has taken the form of the body-brain system. But that body-brain system is charged by prana, is the same universal mind. Right? So everything is made of that one hidden stuff called the universal mind. This is what he's trying to say. So you and I look separate, but in universal mind we are one. So in the initial division of the universal mind into two parts. One which makes the form and one which powers the form. The petrol to the form. That is from the divine. I just gave you that we have two electrical fields. One created by Prakriti, that is through prana. And one created by Purush, which is through the initial spark. Right? But in a way that is, because it is an electrical field, it has used mind to create that field. It has used mind to create. Yes. But still the pattern of that field is of the divine. The structure of that field is the structure of the divine. Right. Our very first task in remodeling the things in our lives that do not suit us is to get fixed in our memories this fact of unity with all things in the universal mind. So we want to now change the things in our life. Please don't go according to him that what we like and dislike. He's just putting a small worm in front of you. that we cannot be alone. We are never alone because everything is connected. And that we have all the creative and sustaining power in heaven and in earth within us waiting to be used. We have this power of subjective mind when we know how to. There is a specific way in which we can make that demand. So now he is going to teach us a way, a technique of how the subjective mind can ask from the universal mind. The hypnotist disconnects the hypnotized person's subjective mind from his objective mind and then substitutes his own objective mind to control the hypnotized person's subjective mind. Right? So if a hypnotist can control somebody else's subjective mind, we can also think in which way we can control our subjective mind. So we plan everything, decide everything in our objective mind, and accordingly we make the subjective mind work. There is no limit to what the subjective mind can be made to do in this manner. Certainly, if some other person, such as the hypnotist, can impress his will on your subjective mind, you yourself can do the same thing much more easily with your own objective mind. So we use our objective mind, conscious mind, to program our subjective mind to say something to the universal mind, and we reap the results in our life. Right? Hence we see that our individual subjective mind is the immediate personal link with the universal mind. It is your great link with all else that is. Right? If we can remain in a state where we don't think, just allow our thoughts, then we'll be constantly in sensitivity with our subjective mind, which is connected to the universal mind. But if we are thinking all the time, if we are chattering all the time, then we are disconnected from the universal mind. Mind such as your subjective mind is limited only by the arbitrary conditions of time, space, force, and other natural laws. So now he's saying that whenever you ask for something, try to keep this in mind. Time, space, right? And the other natural laws. Why is he saying this? That we have to be practical in what we ask for. We can't ask for something which is going to come after 700 years. Right? We have to keep arbitrary time that, okay, I'm 61 years old, then whatever I have time left, I have to ask for something which is possible to manifest in that time. Right? Natural laws. Natural laws. What is the first natural law? The first natural law. Does it cause harm to anyone else? Does it cause harm to anyone else? This is the first natural law. So, arbitrary conditions of time, space, where you are staying, force, the amount of energy you have. You know, on the spiritual path, the meaning of force is something totally different. When do we say a person has no force? When he is sleeping. When he is sleeping. Right? He has no force. No force. But on the spiritual path, everybody is sleeping. So, there the concept of force is totally different. I may build factories, I may earn money, I may do this. But if I'm not in a state of awakening, if I'm not in an awakened state, then I'm sleeping and I have no force. I have no force. So here the concept of force changes completely. It has no further limitations. But your subjective mind directed inwardly to all the worlds on the inner planes, having access to the vast power of universal mind. Which are the inner planes? Which are the inner planes? Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha. Bhu is the physical, the cellular universe, the physical universe, the one which comes in the touch of the five senses. Bhuva, which plane will Bhuva start from? Our dreams at night. Our dreams at, so if we bring consciousness in our dreams at night, we have awakened in a different inner plane. Different inner plane. Right? Swaha, the electronic world, the physical world, cellular world, the astral world or the molecular world, the electronic world. Different worlds. So many planes of existence inside within us. We don't direct our attention to these planes. So he says that using the power of the universal mind, we'll be able to direct ourselves to all these planes inside. We will have access to all these planes inside. Will the concepts of time and space change? Will the concepts of time and space change? How? I may take 3 days to meet you, but in my dream, you're already there. Suddenly time and space have compressed. Right? Similarly, you stay with your husband, you stay with your wife, it takes years to understand the other person. But if you can enter there, then you understand the person in a flash. It is as if years of photographs compress into one. So when you are able to direct your attention to the inner planes, so many things start unfolding within us. Right? So your subjective mind directed inwardly to all the worlds on any inner planes, having access to the vast power of the universal mind, drawing life from the very source of everything, that is, can accomplish anything which is not prohibited by the laws of time and space. We'll take this last paragraph. In consciously creating circumstance, we reverse the process of physical sight. What is he saying? What is he saying? What is such a simple statement? It's very deep, very, very deep.
See something, you can create a picture in your mind.
I see something and I want it, but I want something and I see it. I create it. Right? Both the circumstances are different. So he's saying now we are consciously creating circumstance. In consciously creating circumstance, we reverse the process of physical sight. See the sequence. I see and I want. But now I want and I see.
It's a reverse of cause and effect.
The sequence changes. But you're reversing the process in the sense that you create what you want to see. Just now, when I see something, I cannot, I'm seeing something which is already created. This is what he's trying to say. He's not talking about scientifically reversing the process of physical sight. Instead of seeing mentally a picture of what we know already exists, physically, we use the giant power within us by impressing our individual subjective mind with the picture of what we want to see come about physically. We reverse the process. That is what he's talking about. In your work of consciously creating circumstances, you are to see a picture of what you want first in your mind and later with your physical eye after it comes into externalization. You imagine a picture, and then by means of a definite technique, you make it come true before your eyes in due time. In other words, creating circumstances requires you first to impress upon your subjective mind what you want to perceive later with the objective mind. First in the objective mind we make a plan, we make a picture, we put that picture in the subjective mind. By a definite technique, the subjective mind transfers that to the universal mind, and then we see that thing through the objective mind.